Welcome to our Investonomics webinar on the Union Budget 2023. Joining us today, we have Mr. Rajesh Kothari, the founder and managing director of Alpha Accurate Advisors. Mr. Kothari was once rated as Platinum Fund Manager by Economic Times for the SPL Equity Fund on risk-adjusted return basis in July 2006, and he also received the CNBC TV18 CRISIL Mutual Fund of the Year award. Thank you so much for taking your time out to be with us here today, sir.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. So if you could describe this year's budget in one word, what would that be?
10 out of 10.
Everybody is happy. But the markets, though initially really rallied, it didn't really end on a very good note. So why would you say that is?
Well, I think market always, it's always difficult to justify each and every moment of the market. It's the nature of the market to be either up or down, right? But what is most important is how directionally the budget is taking forward the country's growth. Is it pro-reform? Is it pro-growth? Is it basically making sure that without any lapse in fiscal deficit, country achieves a target growth? That's what the task of the budget is. And I don't think movement of market, either up or down, justifies the ranking of budget. Correct? Both are independent events. Of course, market ultimately looks at the direction of the budget, and to that extent, over the short term to medium to long term, it always discounts good or bad part of it. So it's okay. I don't think we need to justify everyday movement and link it to fundamentals.
So I was going to ask you for three of the best announcements you thought this budget made, but since you said 10 on 10, would you want to give us 10 reasons why you like this budget?
The first is, the significant increase in CapEx, capital expenditure. Second is reduction in income tax rates for individuals. And third is no change in capital gain tax for equity asset class.
There's something for everybody in this budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your take on the 4.5% fiscal deficit target that is for FY26? Do you think that's an achievable target we're hitting?
Well, I think, government is doing reasonably good job. If you look at the GST collections are reasonably strong. If you look at the overall tax collection is reasonably strong. And, I think what is important is to look at every year and then look at then next year. So if I look at FY24, the growth assumptions, what government has assumed on the revenue side, they're quite conservative. They're more realistic. I don't think there is what I would say, excess optimism is built into assumption, which is very good thing. So it's a very creditable number, and, the fiscal deficit is going to be as per what Street was expecting. The market borrowings, gross and net, is as per what Street is assuming. The divestment figure is also, quite a realistic number. So I think on all aspects, if you ask me on the maths, the fiscal deficit maths, I think is, reliable, conservative numbers.
Okay. So as you said, this is a pro-consumption budget. And of course, with reduced tax, there's going to be a lot of disposable income with people, a lot of more disposable income. Keeping this in mind, what sectors do you think would actually benefit from this? Which industry would you think would benefit max from this excess liquidity in people's hands now?
I think, three sectors which gets impacted positively because of the budget. One is the CapEx sector, companies which are basically going to benefit out of the huge capital expenditure which government is doing from last 3 years. And government continue to impose thrust even for FY24. That is the biggest silver line for the country, because at this point of time, economy continues to demand support from the government. Private sector capex revival is probably another 4 quarters away. So it is very important that public expenditure capex side remains strong. So that's first thing. Second sector is, of course, consumerism related. Typically, it is a multiplier impact of 5 to 7 times. So if there is a 35,000 crores kind of a savings by individuals because of the reduction in income tax, it means, about 2 lakh crores of addition to GDP, correct? So entire consumer space will benefit out of it. Within that, of course, we believe discretionary will benefit more compared to defensives, because I think our per capita income has already moved to now $2,000 plus. So your spending pattern changes. It become more discretionary, so more lifestyle products, more apparels, more consumer durables over a period of time, and so on and so forth. So that's another space which will benefit the most. And third is the indirect banking and finance, because if companies do well, they spend, they go for the borrowing program, and therefore the credit growth in the economy, if that also improves. Whether it's individual loan, the housing loan, the retail credit growth, the corporate credit growth, that will also reflect the improvement in the underlying trend. So banking and finance is the third sector which gets indirectly biggest beneficiary out of this.
Okay. So what is your view on the auto sector?
Auto and auto ancillary this year is going to be reasonably good year, because we have seen the last 2 years which were bad years. I think from this year, we are quite positive, particularly in auto ancillary sector, because the content per vehicle for many companies is increasing because of changing norms, and that will further add to the profitability. But of course, you need to do bottom up work. When you once you select sector, you need to be more bottom up, because automobile is also industry where technology is changing. So there are many companies, probably their survivals are under question mark, and there are many companies which will probably grow 10x in 10 years. So the companies which are positioned for better EV related technology, higher content per vehicle, or companies which are into the safety related products, all those kind of companies, the electrification of the car industry is going on, those companies benefit the most. And the traditional companies, if they are not changing their business model, then probably they will come under the question.
Okay. So talking about technological adoption, the finance minister had said she plans to create data embassies for countries looking for digital continuity solutions. We saw that with Estonia and Luxembourg. Could you throw some light on what that means for the India's IT sector?
I think digital is a way of life. It's not a one-time step. It is a structural thing. The world is going through our digitalization. In our everyday life, we are going through digitalization. Right now, for example, we are talking through Zoom. So that's digitalization, right? And I think the Indian companies, not only on IT side, but even on the non-IT side, they are changing rapidly their business models to benefit out of the digitalization. In fact, digitalization is just not about IT companies. It is much beyond IT companies. Even engineering companies which is focusing more on robotics, they're going to benefit. Even the companies which are setting up data centers, as you rightly talked about, they will benefit the most. The companies which are supplying to build those data centers, because they have 3 layers of power security, they will benefit the most. The data center industry is going to become 5 times in next 3 years, 5x in 3 years, correct? So opportunity is going to be huge. And what we do at our portfolio management level is we look at every layer of opportunity and then identifying the right companies which can benefit from these opportunities. Right? And it is going to be structural next 3-5 years drive. It is not a 1 year drive. It's going to be structural growth opportunity for next 3 to 5 years. And that's how we select the companies within the subsectors.
So the finance minister is kind of trying to in a move trying to push people to move towards the new tax regime. In light of this, do you think people would want to invest less in your ELSS schemes and would rather go for your growth funds or other funds rather than invest in an ELSS scheme?
I think more than ELSS, what gets probably more impacted might be the insurance products. That's my personal view. And directionally, if you ask me, that's a threat. Because many times in India, products are getting sold because of the tax deduction. Now, because if you are moving to the new regime, your requirement of tax deduction is not there. And therefore, to that extent, you will not invest into the product. So in insurance industry, there are, huge insurance business gets sold because of the tax deduction. So that will probably have the highest impact in my view in the long term. On equity side, ELSS also can be impacted undoubtedly, but to that extent, then people will look at them as an investment product. They will not look at it as because of tax product. So if I tell you that, okay, your fixed deposit post-tax gives you 4% and equity in the long term gives you, say, post-tax 11%, definitely you will go for equity as a product, correct? Whether it comes through segment A or B, that's okay, that's fine, So yes, there might be in the longer term, more inflows in growth compared to ELSS from the new tax regime perspective. It is absolutely possible.
So you spoke about the insurance sector probably taking a big hit, and as we saw in the markets today, that was one of the biggest sectors that took a hit today. What other sectors do you think in the coming weeks are likely to take a hit?
Can you repeat your question? Sorry, your voice got.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, like you rightly pointed out, the insurance sector has been greatly impacted, and we saw that in the market today. Aside of the insurance sector, in the coming weeks, which sectors do you think will be negatively impacted by the budget announcements today?
I don't think much except the insurance as a segment which got a little bit direct impact. Otherwise, I think it's a reasonably good budget. I don't see at least as on now, as I read the fine prints as on now basis, we have not found any other sector where the impact is significantly damaging. In fact, as I said, in most of the sectors we have seen the positive impact.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Is there any other advice you would like to give our viewers today?
I think the advice to investors is one, think long term. Rome is not built overnight. This is a wealth creation journey. You need to keep patience. You need to absorb the volatility. And if you absorb volatility and keep patience, then I think equity as an asset class will keep delivering the best of the returns. India is at a very attractive point and is a shining star in the entire world. The entire world is going through slowdown or recession. We are at right time, at right place. We are fortunate and take it as an opportunity. I think this decade belongs to India. Stay invested and take volatility to your advantage.
I think it's high time we all started actually investing in India's growth story. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us today. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.